Hey everyone, so I'm going to show you 4 different line techniques that are important for beginner drawers to understand the differences and why you would use one over the other. So the first one is outline. So an outline is going to be what you're going to use if you want very graphic but very flat drawing. The difference between an outline and the second one, which is a contour drawing, right? So a contour line drawing is different in that it's going to give a little bit more of a sense of three-dimensional form. So the difference between an outline and a contour is that you'll notice that the outline has 0 line variation, right? It's the exact same weight all the way around. Whereas in the contour drawing, it's very slight, but it's got different levels of weight. And what you can do when you're getting those different levels of weight, it could be because you went over it a little bit more, or because you kind of vary your line quality around it. So you can get that by having just a different weight where you're sort of like overlapping your lines a little bit, but not, you're not shading, right? So you see the difference between the first two. Now, the next one is going to be cross contour. And cross contour I like because I see it kind of as a bridge between your contour line drawing and cross hatching. So what I mean by that is that cross contour is going to give it a little bit more of a sense of three-dimensionality, right? So it's not as flat, like the outline is the most flat. The contour line is still pretty flat, but it's starting to kind of give a little bit of a sense of three-dimensional quality. Cross contour is sort of your next one in that it's starting to use lines to give a sense of the form and to think about, okay, this is not a flat object. This is an object in space that has depth and dimension. So it's sort of like before you're going to learn cross hatching, I always think it's good to get a sense of cross contour, because what cross contour will kind of help you start to do is think about this quality of, something being 3D. And you'll notice on the cross contour that I also have different weights of line, right? So around the bottom of the lemon, it's a little bit darker. And that shading, or that slight, difference between the darks and the lights of the lines, will kind of give it more of a sense of three-dimensional quality. Then again, going back to that outline, which was the most flat one where there's no variation. So you start to see that those differences in things that you do, and you might be able to get a lighter line in the middle by kind of having it be broken, or kind of a hatch type line, right? So because we're using pen here, not pencil. I'm trying a few different things, but what I'm trying to kind of show you is that the around the edges are a little bit darker, and in the middle part it's a little bit lighter, and that kind of in a way like gives a sense of the lighting, that there's a light quality kind of in the middle of that lemon. Okay, so now we're going to do cross hatching, which is going to be our most 3D one, right? So we started with the most 2D, which was our outline. Then we have our contour line, which is getting a little bit more of a sense of 3D, and then cross contour, and now cross hatching. So I wanted to record this video just because I think that sometimes people don't really understand why outlines flatten things out so much. And again, they're great if you're trying to do something really graphic, but if you're trying to get something to be more 3D, you don't want to use outlines because it's going to flatten out your object. So, this is a good thing just to refer back to whenever you're drawing and you're like, oh, do I want this to be really 3D? Okay, maybe you want to start by using a contour line, or maybe you want to practice cross contour. Cross hatching, is going to the next level where you're actually using shading, and you're looking in your object at sort of where are the darks, where are the midtones, and where are the lights. And whenever you're doing cross hatching, those are the kind of things that you want to observe. And you just simply want to use your lines to build up, like those hatches over, with those different layers to show, the dark values, the midtone values, and the light values. Now, for your light values, you're simply just going to use the page kind of coming through, and you're not going to go over those light values because the white of the page will be your light values. Whereas, when you want to have shadows, you just keep layering until you're happy with it. If you're new to cross-hatching and you landed on this video and you're interested in learning more about cross-hatching, I have tons of different tutorials on cross-hatching, everything from cross-hatching, the face and portraits, to simple objects and things like that. So this is seriously the channel for you if you want to learn more about cross hatching. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and it'll take you back to different videos. And I also have an entire playlist for cross hatching. So that's something that if you're wanting to learn more about cross hatching, there's a lot of content on here for that. And the way that you build up crosshatching is really simply by layering your lines. But one thing that you do want to pay attention to is think about the direction of lines. So sometimes I am just sort of making those kind of like hatches that cross each other. But other times I'm thinking about sort of having rounded lines because I'm drawing a rounded object, and I want to use, rounded lines at times too to show that form. So these are some things to just kind of like think about. But in terms of just the technique of cross hatching, you can really achieve, what you're trying to go for, which is that sense of three-dimensional form, by just doing a lot of layering of those lines. So again, you have, 4 different versions of line drawings, everything from the most simple outline to contour line to cross contour to cross hatching. And whenever I'm teaching, I always, really spend a lot of time helping people understand the difference between outlines and contour lines. So that is like sort of one of the most basic things to start with. If you're brand new to drawing, go back and look at some of your drawings, and you'll notice, I bet, that sometimes you're using outlines or you're overusing outlines when it might be better to use more of like a contour line, which again is just thinking about the different weights of your lines and not having it be the same all throughout. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.